Robinson is widely regarded as the pound-for-pound greatest boxer of all time. And even Muhammad Ali agreed.
I would have to admit, I would have to say yes. That man was beautiful. Timing, speed, reflexes, rhythm, his body, everything was beautiful. I say I'm the greatest heavyweight of all times, but pound for pound, I still say Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest of all times.
Generally, a fighter who backs away from someone can't hurt you. But Robinson, when he could hurt you, backing away from you, somebody come in and tell you, "Oh, I saw him at his best," and he was the best fighter ever lived, pound for pound.
Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward,
I thought he was a great fighter. A great fighter. I loved his combinations and his speed, the way he operated. I admired the way Sugar Ray Robinson threw his combinations.
Robinson was poetry in motion, strong in every way, and lacking any real weaknesses. His graceful outboxing was just as efficient as his brutal inboxing, and both paled in comparison to what he could pull off while exchanging at mid-range. Every piece of Robinson's style worked together perfectly, his footwork, head movement, and punch selection compounding to enhance each other. If most fighters are playing individual notes, Robinson was playing chords, and arranging them in ways that really haven't been seen since. So today, we're going to take a look at how Robinson created beautiful symphonies of destruction. We have to very briefly go over the fundamentals of Robinson's style. Years after Robinson's reign was over, and Muhammad Ali danced around the ring, some noted that Ali's style bore a striking resemblance to Robinson's. And that makes perfect sense, as Ali based a lot of his tactics on those of his heroes. Robinson and Ali both shared the same circling jab with cross steps and skip steps to get deep inside angles. And both used combinations of head and body jabs to blind and wind their opponents. But whereas Ali almost exclusively used pull slips to evade his opponent's punches, Robinson fought off opponents' jabs with his rear hand. Starting with the same basic motion, he could catch an opponent's fist, bump it up from underneath, parry it from the inside to deflect it, or straighten his arm into a leverage block. Without these long-range tactics, Robinson's flashier displays could never work. Now that we have the foundations, let's look at how Robinson built on them, and how they gave him the ability to land knockouts that look more like they belong in a Marvel movie than real life. Robinson primarily threw his jabs one of two ways, usually blending them together into a combination. Robinson primarily threw his jabs one of two ways, usually blending them together into a combination. The first way was a head jab with a cross step, and the second stepping inside to a body jab with an outside crouch. So it makes sense that he usually got attacked in these two positions. But this is exactly what Robinson wanted, to draw long-range punches that he could counter and then build on. Of the two aforementioned setups, opponents much more frequently tried to attack Robinson when he threw his body jab. This was because, although Robinson's crouch did drop his body weight into his punch and move his head offline, it also put his head much closer to his opponent's fists. This is why body jabs are notoriously dangerous to attempt. But for Robinson's opponents, this low-hanging fruit would turn out to be poisonous. Robinson's head position forced opponents to punch downward, and this in turn not only blunted some of the opponent's power, but also left them far more open for counters. And one of Robinson's favorite and most effective counters was his right-handed body shot to the kidney. Normally, it's challenging to land a shot to the opponent's side, since the elbow is in the way. But when Robinson's opponents attempted to counter his jab with a jab of their own, Robinson took advantage of the brief window in time before they retracted their arm to sneak a tight hook through the opening. If his opponent simply shelled up or crouched down, Robinson went around and over them with an oddly thrown, modified overhand. This punch arced over his opponent's body and landed with devastating effect. Yet another powerful right-hand counter that Robinson was fond of was his highly developed rear uppercut. He could count on his head movement and footwork to keep himself safe and out of the line of fire. So when opponents tried to duck in with their jab, Robinson tracked and timed their head movement with stunning accuracy. Because Robinson knew what his opponents would do and goaded them into doing it, he could effectively walk them right into his punches. But what about when Robinson drew an opponent's attack off of his jab to the head? Oddly enough, Robinson preferred to slip inside, even though he was in such a narrow stance. He would arch his back to load up a lead hook counter. It takes insane athleticism and creativity to pull this off, but Sugar Ray was no stranger to the sweet science and the tactics that they allowed for. I've talked to death about doubling up on the same side with hooks, and how the body hook prompts the opponent to lower his guard for the follow-up head hook. But Robinson preferred to double the double up. He would throw two hooks to the same target, head or body, while inching inside to a deeper angle with each shot. And while a single body hook might entice an opponent to pin their elbow to their side, two body hooks will definitely get the job done. Plus, look at that, that just looks awesome. Another favorite adjustment involved positional wrestling, reminiscent of Henry Armstrong. Robinson would use his head or shoulders to offset his opponent's balance and place them where he wanted them. And this would often lead to another favorite tactic of his. With his head safely positioned on his opponent's shoulder, he didn't need to worry about guarding. Meaning, both of Robinson's hands were free to tear away at his competitor's midsection. It should be obvious by their reactions that these were no pitter-patter shots. Robinson obviously didn't give his opponents many options when it came to long range, mid range, or close range. But even opponents who tried to back away and exit the exchange weren't let off the hook, quite literally. Any opponent attempting to retreat would likely be caught with a leaping gazelle hook. And as mentioned earlier, shelling up low with a high guard just opened them up for fight-ending kidney shots. Now that we know Robinson's favorite tactics, let's close the video out by examining some of the ways he blended them together. Here Robinson punishes his opponent's crouch with a kidney shot, then forces him upright with an uppercut to finish with a thunderous hook. Here Robinson counters his opponent's jab with an uppercut, then ducks into his chest to push him off balance. He lands the kidney shot, retreats off angle, then counters his opponent's aggression with a hard lead hook. And here... I guess sometimes he just felt like throwing haymakers.